Bozemba,
KBN TV,
Bozemba,
KBN TV,
Bozemba,
KBN TV,
Bozemba, Bozemba,
Think Danny.
Bozemba,
And I thinking of it, Danny.
Bozemba,
Think Danny.
Bozemba.
KBN TV.
Leta bozemba hapa, nilipakate nilitafune fasta. Silagi kuku napenda bata, sipendi usumbufu nazima data.
KBN TV, the finest television.
Hello, this is your girl Helen, and I should say I'm super excited. I'm honored and humbled to be on the judging panel of the Royal Talent. We're getting into a new episode, and I must say I have seen so much talent. I've always known that there's talent in Zambia, but I didn't know there's so much diversity and creativity in how much people can bring out their talent. Usually it's just singing and maybe dance, acting, but with this talent show this season, the first season, we've seen so much. The way dancers are being creative, the way they're sending out the message through the dance, it's just beautiful, and I'm wishing them all the best. We don't know who the winner is, and we just have to keep watching, and I hope you, the viewers at home, will not stop watching, and you will keep supporting the talent that's on the table. We have 5 stages. We have the audition stage, then stage 1, stage 2, semi-finals and finals. I have had a chance to see the first stages from auditions to stage 2, and so far, guys, it's amazing. It's beautiful. Just stay tuned and watch as we head the road to the semi-finals. You will love it. You will be amazed. Let's keep encouraging the talents. Let's keep building our talents and keep watching the Royal Talent. Thank you.
My name is Jonathan Tupaki. I'm 22 years old. I'm from the Copper Belt in Fleur, but I'm here right now in Lusaka.
My name is Kieran Bolian Support. I'm also from the Copper Belt, in order to be specific. I'm currently living in Lusaka. I work as a cashier for Engine. Yeah, but I love dancing, so I really wish to make a living out of dancing, you know. Where it is, yeah. We were known each other since 2015.
Yes.
2016, we made a Stanley Music Festival. We met there, we were dancing for Summer Sky. That's where all this name came up from, the Sky Dancers. Yeah.
My family really supports me when it comes to dance. They really do support me, but they always fall back on the school thing. For me, I don't count school as the number one thing here, because I believe in myself. We want to start a very, just like a small school, yeah.
There's something, inviting people over, you know, Afro, hip hop.
Yeah. And what else? And invest in business as well.
Business.
Because we love business. Well, yeah.
Put on a ball, you know, you can't be dancing that ball.
Rapatisa bondila kumono mukoli beef na litendwa pasani coca poli. Too much time wala ya bila maroli. Somebody tell Jimmy Kena ena taba holy. Take some seats padapa na kadoli. Okoya spiritual father nshilanda na kaboy. Bougie na limonshi fuma diodi. Na yamba bamushika modi swine na igoli. Bombe shapadodi busy na mashodi. Stopping on your short singer goli. I still baba ngomu flashi maditori. Ndi wakalema kama eo na maarasoli. I tell her be nani kanefe kunodi. She then goes down pati wadi wachi lodi. Waletinde ande kulomu twesi lodi. Ala chansambu wale the money keeps calling. Nifka musiti komenanka shiyobe. Komenanka shiyobe. Nifka musiti komenanka shiyobe. Komenanka shiyobe.
Nifka musiti komenanka yobe.
Keep watching KBN, the finest television in Zambia.
KBN TV, the finest television.
What up, people? What up, my guy? Keep watching KBN TV.
Finest
Television in Zambia.
Hello. Keep watching KBN TV, the finest television on Top Star Channel 102.
KBN TV, the finest television.
KBN TV.
Bozemba, KBN TV. Bozemba, KBN TV. Bozemba, KBN TV. Bozemba, Bozemba.
Think Danny.
Bozemba,
And I think in a video Danny.
Bozemba,
Think Danny.
Bozemba, KBN TV.
Leta Bozemba.
Welcome to Conversations with Carol. My name is Carol Shota David. I'm a transformational speaker, writer, author, blogger, serial entrepreneur, and movable optimist, and I'm here to help you become the best version of yourself in your personal life as well as your business. Today we are going to be talking about the reason why we're here. Conversations with Carol is a place that creates a safe space for people to talk about their conversations, to talk about their situations, and things that they would not ordinarily talk about in their normal environments. Where did it come from, you must ask? Conversations with Carol, it stemmed from my journey. It stemmed from the conversations that I had with people, and it also stemmed from a lot of experiences that I've been exposed to and I've personally endured. Conversations with Carol came from me when I decided to have a Heart Blossom podcast that came from my book, Heart at War, The Quest for Identity. The reason why we have conversations with Carol is because a lot of times people face a lot of stigma when it comes to talking about their mental health issues, when it comes to them talking about their suicide issues, their trauma, their narcissistic breakups, their toxic relationships. There's things that people in this country, and around the world have not been comfortable talking about. So Conversations with Carol wants to bring about those conversations and to create a space where people feel comfortable, they don't feel overwhelmed, they don't feel like they've got stigma, and they're getting to a place where they can actually get a solution. It's like when you're talking to a friend and you just want to let out. Sometimes we don't even realize that when we're going through a lot of times that are challenging, that you just need somebody to talk to. You need somebody that you can feel your trust is not going to be betrayed. You don't feel like tomorrow you're going to be somebody's sermon. You don't feel like the next day people are going to look at you differently. So Conversations with Carol has got a place where people talk about their head issues. We're acknowledging the journey that you've been on. We're talking about the heart issues. How have you been affected? And then we move on for you to stamp on that hill and to get going. Getting going means that we are going to acknowledge your situation. We're going to look for a place where we can come to a place where we find a solution. Maybe it's something that you and I can talk about. Maybe it's something from the audience, or maybe it's something that, you have already gone through, and then now you want to reach out to somebody and help them. Conversations with Carol is really about us changing the narrative about how we talk about mental health issues, that these things need to be normalized. Conversations with Carol is us saying, listen, I've been through stuff, I'm going through stuff, and I may go through some stuff. So how do I handle it? How do I go about and become a better version of myself? I remember when I was writing my book, it took me about 3 years, and I kept on thinking, this is very raw. This is me getting to a place of telling people about my story, my journey, and the things that I've gone through, right? I was worried. I was literally like sick worried. I'm like, they're gonna judge me. Like, who talks about their daddy issues? Who talks about, dynamics? Who talks about identity? Like, what is that? But you see, a lot of times, the situations that we find ourselves in, they stem from a lot of childhood trauma. They stem from the things that have been embedded in us, the things that have been programmed in us. And those are the things that come to give us, the certain perspective that we have in life. So Conversations with Carol is going to be pretty raw. We're going to find out the journey that I went through. We are going to have people that are ready to talk about the things that sort of like feel uncomfortable. We're talking about narcissistic relationships. We're talking about toxic relationships. We're talking about toxic family. We are going to be talking about therapy. We are going to be talking about the solutions that you had to go through in private. It's about those moments that you cry and you feel like nobody's there for you. A lot of times when we are going through a lot of situations, we find that we haven't had somebody who sort of like hears us. And I'm not saying that I'm going to be here and be your magical solver for the things that you're going through. But I'm saying that let's get the conversation started. Let's normalize, okay, the conversation of like, listen guys, I'm not okay. And it's okay to not be okay. When I talk about being an unmovable optimist, right? It's not like I don't go through stuff, but it's about my perception. Because life is 10% what happens to you and 90% your reaction or your perception. I always speak about this stuff when I'm talking about self-love and self-worth. And for me, being a neuro-linguistic programming life coach, NLP, right? You find that there's a language that the brain speaks. There's certain things that the way that an ordinary person would communicate is not like the way another person would. What does this mean? When we talk about going through stuff, right, regardless of the situation, whether it's rape, it's emotional abuse, physical abuse, it doesn't have to define you. We are saying that whatever has happened to us, whatever situation you've been exposed to, because remember, some people have also got trauma because of the situation they found themselves in. Maybe it's not necessarily something that happened to you, but it may have happened to the next person, right? So what happens is when you sit down and you start to learn and to reach out, you're going to hear in the professional circles where you're going to be told that there's no such thing as failure but feedback. You are not a failure. I'm not a failure. Whatever has happened to us doesn't have to define us. We have to learn from the stuff that we've gone through so that we can become a better version, so that we can live our life, because whatever has broken us can be healed, can be mended. And sometimes you need that amazing ray of light to just come through those cracks. And when we are doing that, the journey can be hard. It can be hard because when you talk about mental health, when you talk about depression, when we hear people committing suicide, it's like, hey, I saw these people looking all right. When did this happen? Like, I didn't know that person was so sad, or maybe they can even be famous. But at the end of the day, it's because of these conversations that people are not having. And this then leads to things like stress and, people just get into a place where they feel like, you know what, I just want to die. And sometimes some people don't physically die, but they sort of socially die. Some people, they take it a step further and they just literally live on social media. They get to a point where social validation becomes their norm. So when they wake up in the morning and you are not validating them, that puts them in a depressive state. And we're here to say you don't have to do that anymore. Conversations with Carol is about us getting raw. It's about us getting unplugged. It's about us creating a journey that says, listen, I hear you. I hear what you've been going through. I hear that this may not be a cultural acceptable thing. It may be even a taboo to talk about, you being abused, maybe even in your marriage, you being raped in a relationship, all those things, because ordinarily these things are not supposed to happen in a normal environment. But these are the things that have caused a lot of issues. These are the things that affect us on all levels of life. You find that your career, your education, your health, everything about you it's sort of like stagnant. And we're saying that we want you to live. We want you to be at a place where you can become the best version of yourself. We want you to take a holistic view and acknowledging that no matter what has happened, you are going to be the person, right? That just is the one that can be a solution to somebody else. Because regardless of what we go through, there's somebody out there There's somebody out there that you can reach out to. There's somebody out there that is waiting for your story. There's somebody out there that wants to hear what it is that you have. And Conversations with Carol, it's really about us saying that, listen, my heart may be at war. My heart may be, it may have had some challenges. It's at a place where you realize that no matter what happens, right? There's someone out there that also is ready to be a listening ear. And this is what this platform is doing. This platform is here to talk to you about the fact that it's okay. It's okay to have gone through that situation. It's okay to have experienced that. But we're now saying that after we have heard that it's okay, after we have acknowledged and maybe gone to seek therapy, there's still the aftermath. There's still, issues of the heart. There's still issues of, I don't know. I don't know how to walk into society. I've been there. I've been there where you feel very challenged. Like your normal routine literally gets thrust into the corner. Why? Because you've gone through trauma. But nobody's going to tell you that, because sometimes depression just looks like somebody doesn't want to eat. Somebody doesn't want to bath. Mental health issues sometimes even overlap. You find that you are thinking, oh, you know what? She just wanted to kill herself. But that issue has been in the head for a very long time. So Conversations with Carol is here to change the narrative of how we have conversations, not just in Zambia, but across Africa. Why? Because we're also handling a cultural issue. Because there's certain things we don't talk about. How do you talk about stillbirths? How do you talk about miscarriages? How do you talk about postnatal death? How do you talk about single parenthood without being judged and being called a prostitute? How do you handle those situations? How do you handle you going through church hurt and being called a spiritual prostitute? There's so many things that we can talk about, but ultimately, at the core of everybody is that there's some sort of level of confidence and insecurity that has come out. And then we have all these issues in society where people don't value themselves. So you find that their validation is coming out in all these viral stories, cyberbullying, all this stuff that people have not sat down to say, okay, after all this has happened, has anybody reached out to those people? What is happening? We don't even know if some people are still alive after some of the situations that they've endured and gone through. Because you know what? When you become empathetic, when you start to realize that what you are laughing at, what you might be considering trivial, could happen to you, could happen to the next person. So that is what we are trying to change. We're trying to say, listen, I hear you, I get you. But I also want you to thrive. I also want you to glow up. I want you to walk out with confidence. I want you to know that God loves you. I want you to know that you have an identity. You have purpose. And you need to be whole. But that is also a journey. And when we talk about the journey, we are talking about marrying the process and divorcing the result. There is no quick solution to your healing process, but it still takes a decision. It doesn't mean that you can't walk out and do the things that you're supposed to be doing. But what we're saying is, you are not alone. You are not alone. I remember when I was getting feedback the first time that I put my book on the market, and somebody was like, oh, you literally poured out, because for those who haven't read my book, it's like a journal. So it's like I was writing. So for the 3 years that I was writing, I was literally talking to one person, and I was also talking to myself. I remember in one of the chapters and one of the places in my book, I literally spoke about being, in front of the mirror and having to face the person that I was, okay? And I remember saying that we are going to be meeting parts of ourselves that we've never met before. What do you do with a stranger? You take your time. You talk, you get to know them, you get to ask questions. How did they get to where they are? So that is what Conversations with Carol is doing. It's not just going to be about me. It's going to be about the people that have walked through those paths. It's going to be about, the experts. It's going to be about us being real. It's going to be about your sister, your brother, your auntie, your uncle, whoever it may be. But what we're saying is enough is enough. We can no longer be keeping quiet about certain things that are killing us, that are killing the people next to us. Conversations with Carol is about us getting real. It's about us reevaluating, introspecting, and saying, what are we going to do? How are we going to forge forward? How do we become better versions of ourselves? And I think with that being said, we need to really get to a point of saying that I'm going to do better. I'm going to be the better friend. I'm going to be the better sibling. I'm going to be the better cousin. I'm going to be the better employee. Why? Because we are acquiring knowledge. And knowledge is power only when it's applied. Because we've got all this information about what mental health could be, what people do, and sometimes we even laugh at some of the situations that people go through, not knowing that it's also about the application. Because imagine a society that knows better. Imagine a society that gets to see someone like you, somebody like me, and you say, oh, I've got a story. I've gone through stuff. That is the situation that has sort of like been in my mind for some time, because I always thought, how do you go about this thing? What do you do? But I was deliberate about it. How many people are deliberate? How many people, feel comfortable going to certain spaces? How many people feel like that situation will not be told around the block? So Conversations with Carol is me reaching out to you and saying, you've got a platform. You've got a place for you to become a better version. You've got a place where I'm not saying that today, or when you sit next to me, that, 100% we've got it. No. But what we're saying is we are getting the conversations going. We are getting the journey started. You are not alone. They are not alone. Because it doesn't necessarily have to be you sitting next to me. It doesn't necessarily have to be you coming here. It's not about you and maybe the situation that you don't really want to talk about, but it's the fact that you're taking that step to bring it out. It's about awareness, guys. It's about us coming to a place of saying that, hey, you know what? There are people that can go through it, and I thought I was just alone. I want to create a space where, you can constantly wake up every day knowing that you are loved. You can wake up every day knowing that even if you don't have a relationship with a deity like God, there are people out there who speak your language. There are people out there, right, that understand even maybe just a quarter of what you've gone through. And it's about people also having conversations that say, listen, guys, there's something wrong in our culture. The things that people call taboo are the things we need to address. It's you who puts your head on the pillow at night. You are the one whose heart and mind is at war. You are the one whose heel cannot step on the ground because you don't have the confidence. You don't have the path. You don't have the journey. You don't have a vision. And sometimes some situations totally deplete you, especially when it even comes to things like divorce, when it comes to living toxic relationships, narcissistic issues. What about if you find out that you are the person on the other end who's the negative one? How do you handle that? Because it's not to say that other people don't know that they go through stuff. But, acknowledgement is not easy. And you need to have a space. You need to have somebody that you can reach out to and say, you know what, boy, like at this point, I think indeed a problem. And that's the thing we want to get to, where you can actually say, you know what, maybe I had a part to play. And let me not even say maybe. Every time in life something happens to us, we do have a role to play. Somebody will be saying, you know what, Carol, maybe you're being insensitive. I got raped, all this situation. How am I responsible? When it comes to issues like that, it's also about projection. It's about the way that we think about things, because there's nobody to tell you that it's the environment that you could have been put in, right? That created that situation. Had you known better, had you had seen certain clues, had the environment been like, you know what, when we are growing up, these are certain situations that are not correct. An older man or an older woman shouldn't touch somebody in an appropriate way. It's small little situations where we're saying we want to normalize those conversations of awareness. We're not saying that we don't care about you, but we're saying that now, that we know better, we're going to do better. If you had known better, you would have done better. You would have run out to somebody. You could have spoken to someone. You could have seen a normal environment that could have told you that this is wrong. The reason why some kids or some people or even older people do not talk about these issues is because it's normalized. These are things that are hushed. It's situations that people have gotten to a place in society that they accept. So when we talk about on those kind of situations, you accepting responsibility, we're talking about the knowledge and awareness responsibility. Not that you should be responsible for the physical or emotional abuse that took place, but because the acknowledgement just comes from the fact that, yeah, I was in a different environment, an environment that didn't know better. You know, I was speaking on one Facebook Live once, and I was talking about the fact that we have certain expectations of a society that is broken. And listen, no matter what happens in life, whether it's your decision with a job, whether it's your decision with a career, whether it's a decision with who you should hang out with, whether it's a decision of what you post on social media, we do everything that we do from the level of our wholeness or our brokenness. So meaning that whatever, self-worth level that you have, that is the path that you're going to create. That is the standard. That is the standard that you're going to give out. I mean, how can people that are broken or a broken society know better if they've never seen better? And this is why when we talk about exposure, it's not just to say that these things are for Caucasians or for certain regions. When we talk about mental health and all that, yes, it's there. People are getting to know about it. But we're talking about the practicality. What do you do with therapy? I mean, like, where do you start from? Where do you even go? What is therapy? Those are the conversations that we want to have. Those are the conversations where we tell people that it's okay to take your child to therapy. It's okay to find out that maybe your daughter is narcissistic and they're just 11 years old. It's all those things that we need to address. You know, how do you deal with autism? How do you deal with, all these issues that people talk about? No, this may be witchcraft, this may be this and that. No, we need to be at a point where we understand that there's such a thing as dementia. How do you handle that? How do you handle the memory loss? You know, those are things where we start to look at issues of respect. But what are you going to respect if you don't even know what respect is? So it's really important, okay? It's really important that you understand that we're not saying that we're putting a stamp on a solution, but we're getting you started. We are going to be talking about the head issues, acknowledging, yes, you've been through that breakup, you've been through that divorce, you are going through what you're going through, you've survived something, you've lost someone. We are acknowledging that. We're now saying, let's deal with the heart issue. What is it? What has been troubling you? What needs to be addressed? Who do you need to forgive? Who do you need to reach out to? What are the things that need to be done? What is the first step for today? And then we're going to walk out with our heels. We are going to walk out with some sort of a solution. We are going to walk out with confidence. We're going to have somebody reach out to us and give us a solution if we can find it on this couch. You know, those are the things that we want to do. Conversations with Carol is really about us saying, you're not alone. You will never be alone. Because there's always somebody out there who has been gifted, somebody who has been given the ability to be a proper, positive impact. And maybe some people are even walking through it and you're like, wow, how are you doing it? Because just because somebody has put their heel on the ground doesn't mean that they're 100%. But it's about you getting that motivation. It's about you being inspired. It's about you taking action. Conversations with Carol is really about us taking action. We need to take action. So as we wrap up, I hope that this episode has really been, life-changing for you. I want to hear from you. I want to hear the issues that you've been going through, and if this is a place that you feel you can be safe in. I want you to just be free. I want you to know that unless you want us to talk about your issue with your name and everything or your journey, we are going to keep it private. But we are looking for the solution. We're looking for the journey. If you feel you cannot come to the show, you can always send somebody as a third party to talk about your journey. But I always say that it's always best that you be the author of your story. Understand that some of us have been positioned to be a solution to certain things that have got to do with us just being in a good mental space. And with that said, I want to remind you that you are not alone, not just in conversation, but even in platforms. We've got amazing platforms on social media where we can get these conversations going. Okay, we've got Heart Blossoms podcast, Heart at War, book by Carol M. David, and we can get to have those conversations. Or you can simply just inbox the Vertex page or the KBN TV page or Transforming with Carol, and we'll be able to get back to you. So what I want to do now is just read for you something that has always been a reminder for me and the things that I've been going through and how it's just positioned me to be in a place of, goodness, positivity, authority, and knowing that I'm not alone because I serve a good God who wants the best for me. So I'm going to read for you something from my book, and it's Isaiah 61 verse 1 to 4, and it says, "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me, for the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted and to proclaim that captives will be released and prisoners will be freed. He has sent me to tell those who mourn that the time of the Lord's favor has come, and with it the day of God's anger against their enemies. To all who mourn in Israel, he will give a crown beauty of ashes." That's what we want to do here. "A joyous blessing instead of mourning, a festive praise instead of despair. In their righteousness, we want you to rebuild the ancient oaks, rebuild the ancient ruins, repairing the cities destroyed long ago." Some of you have been going through issues for a long time. "They will revive them. Though you may be a victor in your heart, you still may be at a heart at war battle. And Conversations with Carol is here to help you become a better version of yourself." So my name is Carol, a transformational speaker, writer, author, blogger, serial entrepreneur, and movable optimist. And I'm here to help you become the best version of yourself in your personal life as well as your business. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.